Hi, thank you for joining us today. My name is Gillian Heltai. I'm the Vice President of Client Services at TalkDesk, and I'm here today with Megan McKinnon, one of my customers from ParkWiz, and we're going to talk to you about 5 crazy ideas for transforming your contact center. I'll introduce Megan in a minute, but I want to set the stage by talking a little bit about the evolution of the contact center space and where we at TalkDesk think that we're heading. First thing to note here is that the caller's journey really hasn't changed over the last 3 decades. There continues to be a lot of friction in the experience when a caller calls in. But meanwhile, we're seeing a very major shift in customer communication, and this is being driven by customer expectations. Bottom line is they expect more from us. Great brands with a strong focus on customer experience have trained their customers that a better experience is possible. I'm sure everyone who's listening today can think of a company or two that when you call in, the resolution happens quickly. Maybe there's no IVR. Maybe there's a simple IVR and then a friendly agent on the other end that has all the information that they need, and they're able to resolve it for you, and you come out of that experience feeling very positive. Now, with all of that being said, what we see is that many call center agents are still using very antiquated technology. The tools that they have at their disposal are not enabling them to address this major shift. We do see some companies adjusting really well, but many companies that are older or that have legacy systems aren't able to make this change because the change is hard, and they have kind of embedded technology and a tech stack that doesn't allow for to meet these evolving customer communication needs. So when I talk to customers about customers and people that are interested in TalkDesk about what they should be looking for, what I typically say and what I coach people on is that they should be looking for a system that is simple, a system that is open, and a system that is smart. And rather than going into all of these right now, I'll kind of keep these thematically throughout the rest of this webinar. And I'd like to take this moment to introduce Megan.
Hey, Gillian. Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure. So yeah, I work for ParkWiz, which is an on-demand parking reservation service. We allow drivers to pre-book parking via our mobile app and website to ease the pain of finding a parking spot. My role as customer experience manager has me in touch with the entire customer journey, as our support team is there every step of the way.
Great. Thanks, Megan. So I'm excited to do this presentation with you today. Again, the theme is 5 crazy ideas to transform your contact center. So for the audience today, the question we are posing is, what can you do to transform your contact center? And we've got 5 ideas to talk through with you today.
Cool.
So for number 1, you can give yourself flexibility when building your perfect intelligent contact center. It's really important to acknowledge that your needs and the needs of your customers are going to change over time. You've got to find technology solutions that are flexible and easy to configure so that your tech stack can meet the demands of your company and of your customers as you evolve. One way TalkDesk has approached this is by introducing App Connect. App Connect is a marketplace that allows our customers to go in and find solutions and features that aren't currently available through TalkDesk and add them on to their tech stack. Examples of this: workforce management, quality assurance, business intelligence, productivity tools, knowledge management, and voice analytics. Ultimately, what we're looking to do is enable our users and our customers to be able to build a tech stack through TalkDesk that allows them to meet a variety of needs that we may not necessarily be able to anticipate. So Megan, I know that you've been a customer with us for a while. You were a participant in the early beta of App Connect. Can you tell us a little bit more about your experience and how you foresee App Connect helping you?
Yeah, totally. My colleague and I were introduced to App Connect after we attended TalkDesk Open Talk conference in April, and there was a literal hush that fell over the room when they announced this. It was crazy. I feel like, unlike other app marketplaces, App Connect isn't just showing you that integrations exist. You can literally have solutions ready to go after a few clicks, and it's all very transparent in terms of features and costs. Two of the apps that really stood out as solutions for ParkWiz were TeleOpti for workforce management, because ParkWiz, we have both full-time and part-time team members as well as multiple remote teams, so syncing them all up to meet volume is key. And the other one was TalkIQ, whose voice analytics could bring our quality assurance to a whole new level.
Awesome, thank you. And then another, ParkWiz has been a great partner to Talkdesk. You guys tend to be on the cutting edge of a lot of our features and integrations and functionality. Another one of those is Slack. So we launched our Slack integration last year. It has been incredibly powerful for our customers, and one of the things that I love about this integration is the creativity that we see our customers applying to it. Some of the the standard use cases that we imagined were, and that we do see used quite a bit, are, for example, if the queue size is getting out of hand, if all of a sudden you see a lot of customers calling in, if you've got agents that are out on break, or you've got people that can step in within the organization to kind of have an all hands on deck type of approach, you can send that sort of a message out through Slack to let everyone know, hey, queue size is getting high, we need all hands on deck. Another example is for coaching. Right within the Talkdesk main application, if you're monitoring as a supervisor, if you're monitoring calls and you're seeing the call go sideways, or you want to give your agent a little bit of a tip, or maybe even just kind of a pat on the back, the old-fashioned way of doing this was whisper, where you'd actually join the call and whisper into the ear of the agent, which is I've experienced that. It's not a good experience to be the agent having someone kind of talking at you while you're also trying to listen to your customer. So through Slack, we can facilitate a conversation where the supervisor can send a note, words of encouragement, or hey, try saying this directly to the agent without actually having to step into the phone call. Megan, I'm curious. I know that you guys are big users of the Slack integration. Can you tell me a little bit about what you've learned at ParkWiz and how you guys use Slack?
Yeah, so just like you were saying, we definitely, that's my favorite part of the Slack integration, is that sort of on-demand capability. So, from the live reporting section, I can send a message to all of our agents, like, all hands on deck, we've got long waits right now, or y'all are killing it, keep it up. In addition to that, we also utilize alerts for voicemails, and we've got, a Slack set up where if a caller has spent more than a couple of minutes in the queue, we're just going to Slack the whole team and say, hey, make sure someone answers this call and all hands on deck right now.
That's great, thank you. Okay, moving on, point number 2. You can give back valuable time to your agents by automating manual repetitive tasks. It's so funny, this is philosophically such a no-brainer, but we see a lot of companies fail to execute on this. The companies that are great really stand apart from the rest. They're kind of ahead above, because what they're doing is they're thinking really critically about what are the methods that I can use to shave off seconds or shave off minutes from either the after call work that an agent is going through, potentially pieces of information that they need to enter into their system in the middle of a call. So this is great for a couple of reasons. One, if you can really have a maniacal focus on this, you can make the agents more productive, which is great. The other thing is, a common issue in our industry is agent retention. It can be a really grueling job, and Megan, I know that you do a great job of motivating your team and keeping them happy. I've met your agents, and they're all incredibly pleased with you as a manager and with the company. But that's not always the case. It's hard, and I think any little thing that you can do to show agents show your agents, show your team that you care and that you're trying to make their job better can be really, really powerful. So, one tip that I tend to have for customers that I talk to about this that have agent retention issues or have long after call work is to just dedicate yourself to it. Set aside half a day every single quarter where you can shadow your agents and try to observe what are the annoying little things that they end up spending their time on, and try to capture that. Give your partner feedback, give Talkdesk feedback, think about how you can leverage technology to improve the process, because your agents will love you for it and you'll have the benefit of added productivity. One partner that TalkDesk has that really helped with this is a company named Customer. So we launched this integration earlier this spring. They do an excellent job of meeting this type of demand for increasing efficiency and simplifying and automating some of the tasks that we used to ask our agents to do manually. Megan, you guys are a customer user. Can you tell us about it?
Absolutely. We recently started using Customer as our CRM, and the capabilities to integrate with TalkDesk are basically endless. You know, we were talking about earlier, our company's still asking their agents to manually create these call records. I feel like my team at ParkWiz, we've been so spoiled to not have to do this. So everything like that is automated: call records, call notes. When we were shopping for CRM, it was a must for us that whoever we went with had to have the call bar integration. Since ParkWiz has integrated with connected cars and major e-commerce platforms like Ticketmaster and StubHub, that's the exact info that surfaces for us in customer timelines. So we can see who's calling in the call bar. Once we're in Customer, we can see their bookings, what location, and through what platform they booked, recent interactions with our support team, and all the notes from those calls all in one place. So this saves us from having to ask the age-old question, what's your confirmation number?
Awesome, thank you. You know, one other, this is anonymized, but one other real-life data example of automations at use, and I wanted to do this to show you all, again, that this isn't just a way to make the agent's life better. There's a real cost savings and drive for the bottom line for the business. So we worked with one customer on their automation strategy. Beforehand, they had their average agent doing 13 calls a day, roughly 9 minutes each. And after the automation, we were able to reduce it to 7 minutes each with 17 calls per day. So just that increase of 4 calls from 13 calls a day to 17 calls a day, that is 28 minutes in total with an average time of 7 minutes. That translates to $7 a day, which may not seem like a lot, but with 261 workdays in a year, that's $1,750 a year, which is a tremendous amount when you think about scaling an organization and looking at the average salary of an agent. The ratio there is really compelling. So again, this isn't just a method of kind of giving back to your agents, but there's real bottom line dollar driving that comes from dedication towards automation. Okay, number 3, you can get your customers where they need to be quicker and more efficiently. What we don't want is for customers to get stuck in the downward spiral of a complicated IVR. This is what the typical IVR flow looks like today, and you know, think back to my introduction and the kind of example that I gave you. This is really standard. There are going to be multiple choices. You're going to be passed around from one agent to another. You may end up going through multiple IVR flows, and it's a really, really bad customer experience. At the end of the day, their time is valuable. If they're calling in, again, it's because there's some sort of urgency. Most people know that there are other channels available for them for non-urgent resolution. So when they're calling in, you probably have someone who's trying to get to you pretty quickly. So wouldn't it be better if you could eliminate all of this complexity and simplify the experience so that when someone calls in, they basically just get to who they need to get to, and they don't have to go through that entire kind of gnarly IVR process. ParkWiz does a really good, pretty good job of leveraging IVR to simplify and improve customer experience. And Megan, I'd love to hear from you about how ParkWiz leverages IVR.
Yeah, totally. So the first way I think is really beneficial to our customers is that we are a growing company and our team is scaling and expanding. So as we bring in these large rounds of new hires, when they're fresh out of training, we actually put them in a separate ring group to get those low priority calls, just to not overwhelm them, you know, when they're still ramping up. And then we'll utilize the IVR to get those more difficult calls to our more experienced agents. Other than that, we have a lot of core markets here in ParkWiz, and we actually utilize the IVR to tell us who's calling in relation to those areas. So when you think about dividing this up by area code, or maybe even where they made their purchase for, that's not really accurate data, because I could live in California and I'm traveling down to Florida and I made my purchase there. So the IVR lets us identify where those people are headed, and therefore are they top priority or middle of the road.
I think the other thing that differentiates ParkWiz from other organizations I've worked with in the past is that you're thinking about it, and you don't necessarily rest on your laurels when you have an IVR that you think is working, right? There are constantly adjustments that can be made that can improve the process and make the customer experience better. I recently worked with a customer that has been with TalkDesk for a couple of years, and they had come to us asking about kind of a minor change that they wanted to make to their IVR, and we went in for a design session and we mapped it out, and it was just an incredibly friction-full experience for the customer, and it was just overly complicated, and we went through a process of really simplifying it and kind of reorganizing their agents into teams the same way that you have it set up, where your new hires are kind of a single group that are treated differently during a certain portion of their employment. And taking a step back and thinking creatively and thinking about how to make things simple for both the customer and for the kind of the setup of the IVR can be a really powerful process, and something that I would encourage everyone to revisit every 6 months or every year.
Yeah, I think that's a really good theory. I mean, we're all in growing companies here, and we know how priorities change, so it is so valuable to be able to make those changes.
Great. So number 4, getting into the fun stuff here, you can get real-time insight into how your customers feel. So traditionally, customer feedback data has lived in a siloed system. It tends to be analyzed on a regular or an irregular cadence, but it's not necessarily tied to calls. Furthermore, the feedback collection, if done via survey, is usually done by email, and it can happen long after a call has actually been completed. So you have this kind of channel dissonance where, I call in, my issue is resolved, I'm happy, and then maybe I'm getting an email a day later, 5 days later, and at that point I'm kind of out of the mind frame of being able to respond with my satisfaction. Now, some companies try to address this with the phone-based survey, right? Press 1 to stay on the line to complete a survey. Your feedback is very important to us. But those response rates are really low because most customers don't want to stay on the line and fill out a survey right then. So this is something that TalkDesk has heard for quite a while from our customers, that they're looking for something better as far as how to actually collect feedback from customers and to actually do that in real time, which is why we released Sentiment. Now, ParkWiz was one of our earliest Sentiment users, and Megan, I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about, from your perspective, what Sentiment is and how you leverage it.
Yeah, oh man, I love Sentiment. So on top of the functionality and insight that it offers, it's totally customizable and has super smart features like don't send the survey more than once in 12 hours. Even if the customer called 4 times, they were likely calling to resolve the same issue. So that text message that goes out, asking them to rate the friendliness of the call from 1 to 5, they can answer that whenever they want, but at least they're not going to get inundated with all those text messages. Speaking specifically for ParkWiz, in terms of the voice channel, we really had nothing before Sentiment and TalkDesk. We could only gauge participation for CSAT through those emails that you were talking about, and even when we were aiming for 10 to 12%, which is industry average, our actual participation was averaging 7%. So what do you know, with Sentiment from TalkDesk, right out of the gate, we saw an average of 40% participation. So now not only do we have that data to dissect, but participation today is currently as high as 67% for some agents.
Wow. Wow, that's incredible. So how has Sentiment changed the agent experience at ParkWiz?
Yeah, so sentiment right now, our customer satisfaction is actually averaging 4.41, and we're able to leverage those scores per agent into incentives for the team. Again, because we're operating pretty blind on the voice channel, when we grew from 8 to 30 agents within a year, it became much more important for us to know how our customers felt after interacting with us. Once we opted into the beta version of Sentiment, we kind of never looked back. Now we have a wealth of information at our fingertips, and moreover, peace of mind that as we scaled, our agents maintained a level of quality and consistency.
Got it. And what drives this response rate up, as you mentioned, you're seeing 40% response rate, is the fact that it's channel aligned and low friction. So I call into ParkWiz, I talk to one of Megan's agents, I'm really happy because they're lovely and my issue gets resolved really quickly. I hang up the phone and I get a text message that allows me to rate my experience, and it all happens really seamlessly. It all feels like it's part of the call. I can respond. I can also click to opt out if I'm not happy with the fact that if I don't want to receive SMSs from text messages from ParkWiz in the future. And then ParkWiz is able to get that feedback really quickly. And the other thing that's really amazing about that is if I call in 5 days later, 20 days later, I'm a loyal ParkWiz customer, all that data is going to be stored right there about me, so that when I call back in, the agent could potentially see that for the most part I'm giving really positive responses or really negative responses, and that can help guide kind of the tone of the conversation. So a lot of power by having those data directly linked to the call data. So to wrap up here, point number 5, you can use contextual data to give your customers more personalized experiences. So from my perspective, this is really the holy grail. A lot of the first 4 items that I talk through tend to be either more beneficial for the customer or more beneficial for the organization or the agent. This is where the paths collide and agent productivity increases and customer satisfaction increases. So it's a huge win or a huge win-win for organizations that start to think about how to leverage contextual data to personalize the experience. So what am I talking about here? So traditionally what happens is, the customer is interacting with your brand in some way or another. They're on your website, potentially they're logged in, they're looking at billing information, maybe they're looking at a product that you sell. Maybe they're in your app, they're trying to complete a booking, or they're looking at a booking that they've already made and they're disappointed. Maybe they just ordered some French fries and they decided that they wanted sweet potato fries instead. The customer has all of this information that they are gathering in a digital context before they actually pick up the phone. But they pick up that phone and the agent knows none of it. They ask you to spell your name. They ask you, how they can help you today. So what TalkDesk is working on are mechanisms for that information to get passed into the agent, and that accomplishes 2 things. One, from a routing perspective, it allows the information that we know about that consumer based on what they were just doing in interaction with your brand to allow us to more quickly route to the right agent, someone who's going to be able to resolve their issue, potentially someone who's worked with them in the past. And the other thing that this does, it allows the agent to be more prepared. They don't have to go through all of that triage and the first few minutes of data collection. They can start off by saying, hey, Megan, I saw that you were just within the knowledge base looking at how to troubleshoot, configuration of an Epson printer. Is that what you're calling about? I've got this knowledge base page up right now, and I'll be able to kind of work through that with you. That is so much better of an experience that we're able to offer. And the first step for this in TalkDesk world is the launch of Context Mobile. So we've released an application, a mobile SDK, that allows for the collection of data within the mobile environment to be passed into the customer's agent experience. So the agent can be armed with information that is being passed through the SDK, and routing decisions can also be made based on information that's passed through the SDK. So for example, if the person already has a live reservation or if they're looking to book a reservation, information about a button potentially that the customer pressed within the mobile environment. So lots of power there in thinking about how to better enable both the agent and the customer experience. And this is really just the first step for TalkDesk as we look to create more and more opportunities for digital context to be passed with the customer into the agent experience. So thank you so much for joining us today. Let's keep the momentum going. From the TalkDesk perspective, we would absolutely love to show you a demo of TalkDesk and personalize it for your company experience. You can receive a personalized demo of TalkDesk by visiting talkdesk.com/demo. Megan, tell us about ParkWiz.
Yeah, absolutely. So with ParkWiz, drivers can save up to 50% off standard rates, but you can save even more by using the promo code CCW17 for 20% off. So check us out and start parking awesome. And I do have to upvote Gillian, and getting that TalkDesk demo, you'll never look back.
Megan, thank you so much for joining me today. It's always a pleasure. Really happy with the joint TalkDesk ParkWiz partnership. So thanks again for giving us your time. I know it's really valuable, and thank you for all of your insights today. For the audience, thank you for listening, and we look forward to hearing from you.